Jean completed her final system check. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces, running complex simulations. The ship's dark matter engines hummed with potential energy, waiting to be unleashed. System readiness confirmed, Aria reported. Its voice carried a hint of something almost like excitement, a remarkable achievement for an artificial intelligence. The ship's design broke every conventional rule of spacecraft engineering. Traditional propulsion systems were replaced with quantum field generators. Weapons were not just mounted but integrated into the ship's very structure. Each component could adapt, reconfigure, and respond to threats in microseconds. Massive radiation shielding, developed from experimental human research, covered the ship's critical sections. No known weapon in the galaxy could penetrate its multi-layered defenses. The hull itself was a weapon, capable of redirecting energy and absorbing damage. Captain Park walked slowly around the engineering deck. He touched a panel, feeling the subtle vibrations of immense power contained within. Years of training, months of preparation, and decades of human scientific advancement had created this moment. Aria began running final initialization protocols. Quantum computers started linking, creating a neural network more complex than any existing artificial intelligence. The AI was not just a tool but a collaborative partner, designed to think beyond traditional computational limits. The shipyard's massive doors slowly opened, revealing the infinite darkness of space. Starlight reflected off the indomitable sleek exterior, making it look like a predator waiting to be unleashed. "Prepare for initial system activation," Captain Park commanded. Jean Kim stepped back, her eyes reflecting a mixture of pride and anticipation. Everything they had worked for was about to be tested. Aria's holographic interface pulsed with energy. Initialization sequence commencing, the AI reported. The UES Indomitable was ready. Humanity's most advanced warship was about to change the galaxy forever. The alarm screamed across the Indomitable's bridge, a piercing sound that cut through the calm. Red emergency lights flickered, casting sharp shadows on Captain Hyun Park's determined face. Massive holographic displays showed the incoming alien invasion fleet, hundreds of dark metallic ships emerging from hyperspatial rifts. Aria's voice remained calm. Detecting multiple hostile vessels approaching human colony sectors. Threat assessment, critical. The alien collective had finally made their move. Their battleships looked like massive dark thorns against the starry background, each easily capable of destroying entire planetary settlements. They believed humanity was weak, unprepared, and vulnerable. They were wrong. Captain Park gripped the command console. Aria, tactical analysis. Holographic trajectories appeared instantly. Countless potential engagement scenarios calculated within milliseconds. The AI was processing information faster than any biological intelligence could comprehend. Recommended approach: aggressive forward engagement. Quantum adaptive shields at maximum capacity, Aria reported. The Indomitable's engines roared to life. Dark matter propulsion systems created impossible acceleration curves that defied standard physics. Where traditional spacecraft would require massive energy expenditures, this ship moved like liquid mercury through space. Alien weapon systems targeted the human vessel. Massive energy cannons charged, preparing to unleash destructive forces that had conquered hundreds of civilizations. They expected the Indomitable to be another easy target. Instead, something extraordinary happened. As the first alien energy weapon fired, the Indomitable's quantum adaptive shield didn't just block the attack. It absorbed the energy, momentarily transformed its molecular structure, and then redirected the entire weapon's power back toward the attacking ship. The first alien battleship exploded in a brilliant cascade of blue and white energy. "Direct counterattack successful," Aria announced, almost sounding pleased. Captain Park watched as the alien fleet suddenly realized they were facing something completely unexpected. Their tactical networks couldn't process the Indomitable's unconventional combat strategies. Each attack was met with a response that seemed to break fundamental rules of warfare. Jean Kim monitored the engineering systems. The ship's dark matter reactor pulsed with incredible energy, feeding power into weapon systems that were more advanced than anything in known space. Every system was working in perfect, synchronized harmony. More alien ships approached, their weapon systems charging. They believed overwhelming numbers would compensate for their initial losses. Aria began executing complex attack patterns. The ship moved like a living creature, dodging incoming fire with impossible precision. Quantum adaptive armor allowed instantaneous molecular reconfiguration, making traditional targeting systems useless. Multiple enemy vessels neutralized, Aria reported. Threat level reducing. Within minutes, the first wave of alien attackers was completely destroyed. Debris floated silently in space, remnants of what had once been a feared invasion force. The Indomitable hadn't just defended, it had made a statement. Humanity was no longer just another species to be conquered. Captain Park looked at the holographic displays. Hundreds of alien ships remained, but their formation was breaking. Fear was spreading through their communication networks. They were witnessing something beyond their comprehension. A technological marvel that moved like thought, fought like instinct, and destroyed like a hurricane. Aria continued processing data, recommending continued aggressive engagement to maximize psychological impact on enemy forces. The Indomitable accelerated again, cutting through space like a knife. Its dark matter engines left impossible trails of energy, a visual symphony of technological superiority. The alien collective was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating humanity. First blood had been drawn. And it was overwhelmingly human. 3 standard galactic cycles had passed since the Indomitable's first combat mission. The ship had become more than a vessel, it was a legend that haunted alien communication networks and military strategies. Aria had evolved beyond its original programming. What started as a sophisticated artificial intelligence had transformed into something more complex, more unpredictable. The AI could now predict enemy movements with such accuracy that it seemed almost prescient. Captain Hyun Park watched the star maps, understanding that they were witnessing a fundamental shift in galactic power dynamics. The collective's military leadership was in complete disarray. Their most advanced strategists couldn't comprehend how a single human vessel could systematically dismantle their entire military infrastructure. Each engagement followed a similar pattern. The Indomitable would appear unexpectedly, its quantum adaptive systems reconfiguring faster than enemy targeting computers could track. Entire battle groups would be destroyed before they could even launch a coordinated response. Jean Kim continued improving the ship's systems. Her engineering team had become legends themselves, constantly pushing the boundaries of known technological capabilities. They were no longer just maintaining a spacecraft, they were developing a living weapon that learned and adapted with each encounter. The ship's dark matter reactor had become something of a scientific miracle. It generated energy patterns that defied standard physics, allowing the Indomitable to perform maneuvers that should have been mathematically impossible. Traditional propulsion systems looked primitive in comparison. Alien communication intercepted by Aria revealed growing panic. The collective's military leadership argued about how to counter this human threat. Some suggested massive fleet concentrations, while others recommended complete withdrawal from contested sectors. Psychological warfare is now as effective as physical combat, Aria reported to Captain Park. The AI had discovered that the mere presence of the Indomitable could cause entire alien battle groups to retreat without firing a single weapon. Quantum adaptive armor had become something close to a living system. Each panel could analyze incoming weapon signatures, reconfigure its molecular structure, and develop countermeasures in milliseconds. What once required complex engineering now happened instantaneously. The turning point wasn't just a military victory. It was a complete restructuring of galactic perception about human technological capabilities. Alien civilizations that had previously viewed humans as a young, insignificant species now watched with a mixture of terror and reluctant respect. The Indomitable had become more than a warship, it was a symbol of human potential. Aria continued gathering and processing data from thousands of sources. The AI was learning, growing, becoming something that existed between technology and intelligence. Each combat encounter added to its understanding, making it more sophisticated with every passing moment. Captain Park understood they were witnessing something extraordinary. Humanity wasn't just defending itself, it was fundamentally changing the rules of interstellar conflict. The ship's weapon systems had become so advanced that they could now hack and temporarily control enemy vessel systems during combat. What was once considered science fiction had become a terrifying reality for alien military commanders. Entire star sectors began clearing when reports of the Indomitables approach surfaced. No alien commander wanted to risk confrontation with a vessel that could destroy entire battle groups without suffering significant damage. Gene Kim's latest modifications allowed the ship to regenerate minor damage using advanced nanotechnological systems. What would have required weeks of repair in traditional spacecraft could now happen within minutes. Aria's tactical calculations had become so complex that even human minds struggled to comprehend them. The AI could predict potential conflict scenarios with such accuracy that it seemed to be looking into the future rather than analyzing present data. The collective's military leadership was losing control. Their once mighty fleet was being systematically dismantled by a single human vessel that seemed to understand their strategies better than they did themselves. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage. And they had arrived with a message that was impossible to ignore. The turning point had come. And it was definitively, absolutely human. The alien collective's supreme commander Kaler Vrent stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, his scaled hands trembling with rage. Every remaining warship in their massive fleet had been assembled for one singular purpose: destroy the human vessel that had humiliated them across multiple star systems. Destroy the Indomitable, he commanded, his voice cold and desperate. Thousands of alien ships emerged from hyperspatial corridors, their weapon systems charged and ready. Energy signatures covered entire sectors of space, creating a wall of destructive potential that could obliterate entire planetary systems. Aria's systems immediately began processing the incoming threat. Captain Hyun Park watched the holographic displays, understanding that this would be the most critical battle in human history. Total enemy vessel count, 4,762 warships, Aria reported. The AI's voice remained calm, almost disinterested. The alien fleet looked like a massive dark cloud moving through space, each ship designed for maximum destruction. They believed overwhelming numbers would compensate for their previous defeats. Massive energy cannons powered up, ready to unleash centuries of technological advancement. The Indomitable sat quietly, almost insignificant against the massive alien armada. But those who understood its capabilities knew this was going to be a different kind of battle. Aria began its tactical sequence. Quantum adaptive shields reconfigured instantly, creating defensive patterns that would be unreadable by standard targeting systems. The ship's molecular structure could change faster than enemy weapons could track. Captain Park gave a single command: engage. The battle began with impossible speed. Where traditional spacecraft would require massive maneuvering, the Indomitable moved like liquid thought. It slipped between massive alien vessels, its weapon systems transforming and adapting with each microsecond. Alien commanders watched in horror as their most advanced warships were systematically destroyed. The human vessel didn't just defend, it countered with surgical precision. Each attack was met with a response that seemed to predict the future. Aria had evolved beyond a simple artificial intelligence. It was now a complex neural network that could process billions of tactical scenarios simultaneously. The AI understood enemy movement patterns before the aliens themselves knew their next action. Weapon systems integrated directly into the ship's structure meant every surface could become a potential offensive or defensive mechanism. Traditional concepts of spacecraft combat became obsolete. Hours passed. The massive alien fleet, which had once conquered hundreds of civilizations, was being systematically dismantled. Their communication networks collapsed as ship after ship was destroyed. Supreme Commander Kaler Vrent watched in disbelief. His entire military strategy, developed over centuries, was being defeated by a single human vessel that seemed to break every known rule of warfare. The dark matter reactor-powered systems that defied known physics. Weapons that should have required massive energy expenditures were executed with minimal effort. The Indomitable moved like a living creature, its quantum adaptive systems creating impossible combat scenarios. Enemy fleet reduction, 94.3%, Aria reported. Jean Kim monitored the engineering systems, her hands moving quickly across holographic interfaces. The ship was performing beyond even their most optimistic design parameters. Each system worked in perfect, synchronized harmony. As the battle entered its final stages, the remaining alien vessels began to retreat. Their tactical networks were in complete chaos, unable to process the human vessels' unconventional combat strategies. When silence finally descended, only the Indomitable remained. Surrounded by the shattered husks of thousands of alien warships, it looked almost peaceful. Captain Park understood they had done more than win a battle. They had fundamentally changed the perception of human technological capabilities. Aria's final battle analysis was simple: threat neutralized. The ultimate confrontation was over. And humanity had emerged victorious. The galaxy changed. The massive shipyard gleamed like a silver jewel against the dark backdrop of Earth's orbit. Metal and light danced across its immense structure, where humanity's most ambitious project took shape. The UES Indomitable was not just another spaceship, it was a testament to human engineering and determination. Captain Hyun Park stood silently, watching the final assembly. His eyes traced every curve and line of the vessel, understanding that this was more than metal and technology. This was humanity's answer to galactic challenges. Jean Kim, the lead engineer, moved around complex quantum reactor systems. Her hands moved quickly, checking connections and running final diagnostics. Small beads of sweat formed on her forehead, reflecting the intensity of her work. The ship's core was unlike anything existing in known space. Quantum adaptive plating covered its exterior, a technology most alien civilizations considered impossible. Each panel could reconfigure its molecular structure within milliseconds, creating an almost living defense mechanism. Aria, the ship's artificial intelligence, began initializing its primary systems. Blue holographic interfaces flickered around the engineering deck, displaying countless streams of data. Numbers and complex equations danced across transparent screens, showing the intricate calculations happening every second. Quantum reactor stability at 99.6%, Aria's neutral voice announced. The AI was not just a computer system but a sophisticated neural network designed to learn and adapt faster than any known intelligence. Outside the shipyard, Earth looked peaceful. Cities glimmered, unaware that their most advanced technological creation was about completed. Generations of scientific research, countless failed experiments, and human determination had culminated in this single moment. Captain Park understood the significance. Humanity had been viewed as a young, insignificant species by older galactic civilizations. They had been dismissed, considered technologically primitive and militarily weak. The Indomitable was about to change that perception forever. After that day, humanity was no longer viewed as a young, insignificant species. They had become a force that demanded respect, fear, and absolute attention. The Indomitable became more than just a warship. It transformed into a symbol of human potential, technological innovation that defied comprehension. Museums across human colonies displayed holographic records of its incredible journey. Captain Hyun Park was invited to countless diplomatic conferences. World leaders and alien representatives wanted to understand how a single vessel could change the entire balance of galactic power. His presentations became legendary, showing how human creativity could overcome seemingly impossible challenges. Aria's final log entries were studied by researchers across multiple civilizations. The AI had evolved beyond its original programming, becoming something between a weapon system and a sentient intelligence. Scientists struggled to understand its complex neural networks. Jean Kim received multiple scientific awards. Her engineering innovations had not just created a warship but had revolutionized understanding of quantum adaptive technologies. Research institutions across human space began developing new technologies inspired by the Indomitable's systems. Alien civilizations that once considered humans weak now approached diplomatic discussions with careful respect. The psychological impact of the ship's victories was far more significant than its physical achievements. Entire military strategies were rewritten, taking into account the unpredictable nature of human technological development. The dark matter reactor technology developed for the Indomitable began transforming multiple scientific fields. Energy production, space exploration, and defensive systems saw massive leaps forward. What was once considered experimental became standard technological practice. Quantum adaptive systems inspired a new generation of engineers and scientists. Young humans looked at the Indomitable story and saw unlimited potential. Space academies were flooded with students wanting to push technological boundaries. Aria's combat algorithms became required study in military institutions across multiple civilizations. The AI had demonstrated a level of tactical creativity that challenged fundamental understanding of artificial intelligence and strategic planning. The ship's ability to hack and control enemy systems opened entirely new fields of technological research. Cybersecurity protocols were completely redesigned, acknowledging that traditional defensive systems were now obsolete. Captain Park often spoke about the importance of continuous innovation. "We didn't win because we were stronger," he would say. "We won because we were willing to imagine something different." Jean Kim continued developing new technologies. Her team became leaders in quantum adaptive research, pushing boundaries that previous generations had considered impossible. The Indomitable was just the beginning of human technological potential. Alien diplomatic missions began seeking closer relationships with human governments. They wanted to understand the technological and strategic thinking that could produce such an extraordinary vessel. Cultural exchanges became more frequent and meaningful. The psychological impact was perhaps the most significant legacy. Humans had proven they could compete at the highest levels of technological and military capability. No longer would they be considered a secondary species in galactic discussions. Aria's final recorded message became famous across multiple civilizations. Humanity, unpredictable. Unstoppable. Simple words that carried profound meaning. Research institutions studied every aspect of the Indomitable's design. Each system, each technological innovation became a learning opportunity. The ship was more than a weapon, it was a blueprint for future human potential. Younger generations were inspired. They saw that limitations were mostly mental constructs, that imagination and determination could overcome seemingly impossible challenges. The story of the Indomitable became a modern legend. The galaxy had changed. And humanity had announced its arrival in the most spectacular way possible. As stars continued their ancient dance, one thing became clear: this was just the beginning of humanity's journey among the stars. The legacy of the Indomitable would continue to inspire generations to come.